What's up, guys? Welcome to the 4P podcast. I'm your host, Michael Paterno. Today we got episode 96. This will be a short one. This one will be on YouTube. The last episode was not on YouTube. It was audio only. This one will be on YouTube. This is episode 96. Guys, we're so grateful for you listening to the show. We're so thankful for you guys listening to the show. Catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. YouTube is new. It's only maybe a couple of episodes. It's oh, fix my camera there. It's only a couple of episodes. It's maybe, I don't know, we were on YouTube or off YouTube, and then I started back up again. I just got some new ink this weekend. Kind of wrap the Jesus face, need to fill in some areas, but shout out to Lighthouse Tattoos by Alec Davidson in St. Pete, Florida. Incredible job. It's new, it's healing, and it's itchy. But yeah, it's suns and cloud, sun rays, sun rays, clouds. Wrapping my Jesus face. It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, so super excited to have you guys listening. And kind of just want to touch base on what we talked about the last couple of episodes, just with this, my main thing with all this Israel stuff is really the church and their involvement in brainwashing these people, brainwashing their congregations, and this is all over the country, brainwashing their congregations to get people to believe this narrative that in order to follow Jesus or in order to follow God, or follow both, you have to be a believer in Israel. And it's the biggest false narrative ever. And you have all these politicians, Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, Laura Loomer, Democrats and Republicans, who are also to blame for this narrative, because you have this agenda that is not true. So Israel is Jacob. So God gave Jacob a piece of land when Jacob set off by himself. Jacob changed his name to Israel. You had a bunch of Jewish people live in his territory. Those Jewish people were part of the tribe of Judea. You had the those Jewish people didn't look like pasty white, pale white Jewish people that you see in Israel today, right? If you go back, most of those Jewish people looked more like Osama bin Laden or some dark, complexion Muslim type skin tone, dark brown skin tone, black hair. And they obviously, all the Bibles and the verses were added into the Bible in the 1600s and 1800s. So they could manipulate that, put that in there any way that they wanted to. And, the original Bible is only like 80 or 90 pages. But, when LBJ passed the Johnson Tax Amendment and said we're going to use the church, this was when he was a senator of Texas before he became the president, before Kennedy got shot. When he used the Johnson Tax Amendment to push his agenda on the churches and say, look, we're going to manipulate the churches into selling and saying the propaganda that we want them to push to their congregations. And if they don't do that, we're going to strip their tax break and strip their fundings. That's as clear as day as what the agenda was even since 1953. Now, the Johnson Tax Amendment, it changed somewhere in the 70s or 80s to the 501c3, which is now what these celebrity pastors are running off of, driving around Ferraris, private jets, yachts, multiple mansion homes, just like that church that we attended in Dallas. Celebrity pastor, warehouse full of cars, private jet, yachts, 4 or 5 houses around the United States, Colorado, Pensacola, Florida. Um, it's just sad because all the attention, no matter what way you look at it, all the attention is removed off of Jesus. And one thing I know, because Jewish people believe in God, Jewish people don't believe in Jesus. So if you hear these Zionists or Satanists talk, listen to their talking points. They never talk about Jesus. All these politicians, Democrats, Republicans that are funded by APEC, when they talk about religious stuff or faith-based stuff on their X or Twitter or whatever, or Instagram or Facebook, listen to their talking points, or even when they're speaking behind camera or on camera, they never mention Jesus. They only ever mention God, because Jewish people only believe in God. Jewish people don't believe in Jesus. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of their religion. They don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God and the Son of Mary. Um, Obviously, they have different beliefs, because especially the Zionists, they have different beliefs as to what Jesus is, and the Talmud would tell you otherwise. Talmud explains their belief in what Jesus is. It's a really sad way to go about this, because Jesus is not the focal point. It's, you know, lies, you know, eh, anybody can read documents. It's clear as day that Israel became a country in 1948. And Jesus says in the book of Revelations, um, in 3:9, Jesus says there's going to be a lot of people that claim to be Jewish that are not Jewish, and they worship the synagogue of Satan. And that whole theory, or that whole theory, like Randy Fine and all those, you know, shitty ass politicians, they always preach how Jews were kicked out of 109 countries. Jewish people were not kicked out of 109 countries. Evil Zionists or Satanists back in that time, who hid behind the Jewish people just like they do today, right? Jewish people are the front runners. These evil Satanists and evil Zionists hide behind them, claiming to be Jewish, but they're not, claiming to be Christians, but they're not, claiming to be Catholics, but they're not. They hid behind the Jewish people back when Jesus walked the earth. And they claim to be Jewish, and they're actually Zionists. They funneled themselves into the Jewish community, into the tribe of Judea, and were kicked out of the tribe of Judea because the Jewish people were like, hey, like, you're not about us, you're not part of us, you guys are causing all this trouble in our community, and you're claiming to be Jewish and you're not. And that's when Jesus said, hey, there's going to be a lot of Jewish people that claim to be, or a lot of people that claim to be Jewish, but they're not. They worship the synagogue of Satan. No different from what's happening today. You have about 1,000 people, 500 to 1,000 people, who worship the synagogue of Satan, who are not Jewish, they're not Christian, they're not anything of the kind. They're not Catholic, they're not whatever, but they claim to be all these things, and they claim to love God, they claim to love Jesus, and they don't. But they never talk about Jesus. Their talking point is always based off of God, because they're trying to funnel their way back into the Jewish community, saying, hey, we're, Judeo-Christians. That's the biggest false narrative lie that you could ever have. Um, there's no such thing as Judeo-Christian. It's a made-up term. There's no Jewish Christianity. There's Jewish, separate. Christianity, separate. So it's really sad because you have you have a lot of people worldwide, nationwide, whatever, who are just pushing this narrative to get people to believe this little thing, this thing that Israel is the current state of Israel is biblical, and it's not. So, um, those are some of the things that we were talking about the past couple episodes. Um, Next week we're gonna have on a doctor. I'm not sure what day. We're gonna have on Dr. Troy Doucet. He's got a doctorate in philosophy and theology, so we'll be able to talk to him about some of these things and bring up some of these things. And he is a teaching pastor, and the dude understands the Bible like nobody I've ever talked to in my entire life. He's going to be a repeat guest. He was on last year. He'll be on again this year or next week. So it's going to be awesome to have him on so we can kind of hit on some of these points about Israel, biblical Israel, present day Israel, you know, the belief in Christ, the Zionists, the Satanists, the politicians, Judeo-Christianity, all these things that these churches are telling us that are all lies. We're going to be able to hit on some of those talking points. So I think it's going to be great. But yeah, we're in some really sad times because you have a lot of powerful people, whether it's a pastor, a celebrity pastor, a politician, presidents, all these people that control things that so many people look up to are lying to us or lying to people to push a certain narrative to get people to believe a certain thing. And that's why I'm preaching so hard about or talking so hard about being independent, do your research, pay attention, stay focused, stay calm. Don't believe all these things that these pastors are saying. You are strong enough. God is in you. Jesus is in you. That's why you're here. You're on earth today for a reason. Use that to do something spectacular. Use that to do something amazing. Use that to go be independent. Be the best you can for your family. Be the best you can for your wife. Be the best you can for your husband. Be the best you can for your children. Get in the best shape that you could possibly get into. And just really take a look at things from an outside perspective. Be strong, be dangerous, stay vigilant, stay humble, be open minded, pay attention, because all these things are they want you to be in these subcategories. And it is our job to break away from these subcategories because it's the same thing that the Zionists or Satanists, whatever you want to call them, these big banks, it's the same thing that they did in 1930s Germany. It's the same system that they used for everybody back in that time. They wanted everybody to be in these subcat, BLM, LGBTQ plus, this flag, this group, that group, like this religion, that religion. Well, just like what I said in my last episode, in episode 95, the the focal point should be America, the American flag, American freedom, and fighting for Americans. And then in the religious sector, it should just be about Jesus. In the health sector, it should become the healthiest version of yourself. Stay away from these doctors. Stay away from these politicians. Stay away from these pastors. Not all pastors, but there's probably 90% of them probably suck and 10% of them are probably really good throughout the country. And, I just think that we have to do a better job of like being able to stay out of the brainwashing, stay out of the manipulation, and just be able to look at facts, look at data, read things, do your own research, Don't be just because it was in a book in school doesn't mean it's true. Look at the people that own the education system, the Rockefellers. Look at the people that control the church, the Vatican. Look at the people that controlled the health system. All these people are interconnected, and they don't have your best interest. So it's up to you to become the best version of yourself so you can push back on these narratives. So love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day. And y'all take it easy. And thank you for listening to 4P Podcast. And like I said, this episode will be on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast. Last episode was just on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It was audio only. So appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day.